The first look at Netflix's The Sandman is finally here. While everyone is gearing up for non-stop video gaming goodness at E3 this weekend, Netflix is dropping trailers, announcements, and surprises all week long as part of their inaugural Geeked Week. From a second season of Shadow and Bone to confirmation that iconic Cowboy Bebop composer Yoko Kanno will also be doing music for the upcoming series this fall, to some seriously intriguing Umbrella Academy Season 3 episode titles, there's a metric ton of reasons to get excited about your favorite shows. But nothing has us more thrilled in putting on our tinfoil hats than the very first behind-the-scenes look at the highly anticipated live-action adaptation of Neil Gaiman's The Sandman. Now, for those who don't know, The Sandman is one of the most iconic and critically acclaimed comic books of all time. Written by Neil Gaiman and published by the now defunct Vertigo imprint of DC Comics, The Sandman ran for 75 issues between 1989 and 1996. The series follows Dream, sometimes referred to as Morpheus, who is quite literally the king of all dreams. He is one of the Endless, a family of metaphysical beings including death, desire, destiny, despair, delirium, and destruction. After being imprisoned by occultists for nearly a century, Dream escapes captivity, recovers his stolen objects of power, and seeks to rebuild his fractured kingdom. Netflix has previously announced a seriously stacked cast, including Tom Sturridge as Dream and Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer, but for more on that, I'll drop some links for you in the description below. On Tuesday, Geeked Week hosts Rahul Kohli and Mari Takahashi treated fans to a behind-the-scenes featurette of Neil Gaiman visiting the Sandman's expansive practical sets at Shepperton Studios just outside of London. Between the props and the stages, everything looks like a one-to-one translation from the comics to the screen in the best way possible. The 10-episode first season of The Sandman will adapt the first 2 volumes of the comics, Preludes and Nocturnes, and The Doll's House, as confirmed to Collider by Neil Gaiman. And in this video, we can see Easter eggs from those comics galore. For example, in the very first shot of the props table, we see a copy of A Handful of Dust by Evelyn Waugh, which is a fitting title for Dream, but moreover, it's about a man who's betrayed by his wife, joins an expedition to the jungle, and then finds himself imprisoned by a madman, the last part of which Dream can definitely relate to, because at the beginning of this series, he is imprisoned by the occultist Roderick Burgess, as played by Game of Thrones star Charles Dance. And as confirmed by Neil Gaiman to Digital Spy, in this series, which takes place in 2021, Dream is imprisoned for 105 years rather than a mere 70 years. Yes, a mere 70 years. I know, what a short amount of time to be imprisoned. There's also a set of tiny furniture, which fittingly enough looks like it belongs inside a doll's house, and my best guess is that this is either meant to be a scale model for the boarding house that Rose Walker stays in during the primary arc of the doll's house, or it's meant to amplify the surreal nature of Hector and Lyta Hall's home inside the Dreaming during the Playing House storyline from the comics. As for that large, aged suitcase, that could easily belong to Rose Walker or Roderick Burgess, it's still a little too early to tell. In the background, you can see what's either a soccer ball or a volleyball, which is likely from the first time we meet Dream's sister Death, as played by Kirby Howell-Baptiste in Washington Square Park, straight out of the comics. After that, we see a Matthew the Raven puppet in glorious flapping action. Played by Patton Oswalt, Matthew is the deceased ex-husband of Abigail Arcane from the Swamp Thing comics, and he's been reincarnated as a talking messenger raven, serving as one of Dream's most loyal companions. Moving on from there, we come across a wall of concept art featuring a variety of important locations, like the chamber in which Dream is imprisoned by the occultists, Lucifer's throne room in Hell, the Gates of Hell, various shots of the Dreaming, and the 24-hour diner where John Dee, aka Dr. Destiny, who's going to be played by David Thewlis, uses Dream's ruby to bend the customers to his will. Next up, we see Neil Gaiman holding Dream's ruby, one of the aforementioned objects of power, and behind him is a black and white photo of a man in uniform and a sinister-looking dagger, both of which feel like they're going to be relics of the Burgess family. We also get a look at Dream's pouch of sand, another one of his objects of power, which John Constantine apparently buys at a garage sale in San Francisco years after it was stolen from Dream. And then we see Dream's third and final object of power, his helm, which was sculpted from the bones of a dead god and winds up in the possession of the demon Chironzon in Hell itself, hence why he pays Gwendolyn Christie, aka Lucifer, a visit. We also get a glimpse at the Serial Convention at the Empire Hotel from the Doll's House arc, which, spoiler alert, is actually a convention for, spoiler alert, serial killers, including one of Dream's escaped nightmares, the Corinthian, as played by Boyd Holbrook, so keep your eyes peeled or else he will. However, the moment that makes even Neil Gaiman say holy shit, though, is when he walks into the Undercroft, the chamber in which Dream is imprisoned by Roderick Burgess and his occultists inside of this strange ovoid glass prison. We even get some luxurious shots of the eldritch runes inscribed on the floor that were used to summon Dream to our mortal plane, which are then overlaid with the parallel images from the comics. We get another great side-by-side of Dream preparing to break free from his prison in the Undercroft with its comic book counterpart as well, so you can really tell they're being extra faithful to these iconic moments from the comics. In the next shot, Gaiman is thumbing through the pages of the Magdalene Grimoire, the arcane tome that Roderick Burgess uses with the Order of Ancient Mysteries to try and summon death, only to wind up ensnaring Dream instead. And last but not least, we get a sneak peek at some of the mythical creatures coming our way from this show, including more Matthew the Raven puppets, a maquette of Goldie, Abel's pet gargoyle, Gregory the much larger green gargoyle who's also Kane's pet, and partially obscured images of the Gatekeepers of the Dreaming, a wyvern, a griffin, and a hippogriff, just to name a few. And there you have it, folks. That is everything we spotted in this first look at Netflix's The Sandman. And while we still don't have a release date for The Sandman yet, we will keep you up to date over on Nerdist.com. In the meantime, though, tell us, what did you think of this first look? Did you spot anything that we missed? And what do you want to see from a Sandman series, and why? Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.